Okay, welcome to the last lesson of chapter 5. Last lesson we learned about the sine law, and that referred to angles that are not right triangles, triangles that are not right triangles. And we're continuing with that theme today. So we're going to be looking again at triangles that are not right triangles. And when you can't apply the sine law, you can apply something called the cosine law to solve for missing sides or missing angles. The cosine law is almost an extension of the Pythagorean theorem. So yeah, let's go straight to what the cosine law is, which is on the second page there. We're going to skip this getting started stuff. And we're going to look, oops, my goodness, cosine law right here. Okay, so let's look at a triangle, ABC, and just see what the cosine law says. A, B, C. So remember that the sides across from the angles are labeled with the smaller, the lowercase of the capital letter. Okay, so this time, so it says C squared is equal to, C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos C. So you want to use this law when you have two of the sides, or you can't use the sine law basically. So when you don't have a ratio between two of the side and the angles, like you needed for the sine law, you want to use this cosine law. So we're going to see two examples today, one where we're finding a missing side and one where we're finding a missing angle. Okay. Oh yeah, I should mention too that it looks very similar to the Pythagorean theorem. Remember, the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You'll see that exact same thing here, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but there's just this little extra piece added on, minus 2ab cos of c. Okay, that's because for a right angle, cos of 90 degrees is 0 anyways, so that term goes away. Okay, let's try this first, check your understanding. So I'm going to do A. If you want to try B on your own, you may do so. It says in each triangle, determine the length of QR. So we want to know this. Oh, my pen keeps stopping. Okay, we want to find QR. I'll use my other pen, actually. This, to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. Okay, and notice if I actually tried to use the sine law here, I couldn't because I don't know any of the other angles, and so I couldn't use any ratios between the angles and the sides because I don't have any. If I tried to use R, I don't have the angle here. If I tried to look at Q, I don't have the angle here. So I don't have any ratio between an angle and a side, so I can't use the sine law. So this is where this cosine law can be useful. So these are the numbers that I'm going to use. So the cosine law says this. P squared, which is what I'm trying to find. This is P. P squared is, so I'm going to use the other two sides, 10 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 10 times 17 times cos of the angle across from P, so cos of 31. Right, so I'm just going to write the cosine law here. A squared plus b squared, those are the two other sides, minus 2ab cos c. Okay, so I can highlight what I did, 10 squared plus 17 squared, minus 2 times 10 times 17 times cos of the angle across from the side you want. Okay, and I would simply just plug in using my calculator. So I'd get p squared equals, so I'm typing using my calculator. I've got my calculator here. 10 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 10 times 17 times cos. Make sure you're in degree mode. So I get p squared equals 97. I'm going to write down all the decimals. 36563117776. And we would take the square root to find out what the length of p is. 97 is too big. We want p. The square root of that, and we're going to round it. So the square root of 97.56 blah, blah, blah is 9.8774, and we want to round to the nearest tenth, so it'll be about 9.9 centimeters. So that is the length of P. And that checks out. That looks about right, given the dimensions there. So if you want to try Q, you would do the same, or part B, you do the same thing. This would be your A and B, and then you're finding QR. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next example. So that was finding the missing side. That's actually pretty easy. It's just a plug and chug method. When you're finding the missing angle, though, you have to do a little bit of algebra. So, and then this one, I don't give you a picture either, so you have to draw it. So it says an angle KMN, KM is 16, KN is 11, and MN is 6. Determine the angle M to the nearest degree. So we actually don't know any angles in this triangle. Let's try and draw it out here. It's not going to be to scale because we don't need to do that. So MN is 6 centimeters. And you don't have to draw one that looks identical to mine. It just has to match what it's saying there. KM is 16. And 11. Okay. And we want to find angle M. That's the key. So the side across from it, that's going to be the C squared in the formula. That's going to be the 11. And then the other two sides are going to be your A and your B. So just as a reminder, the formula looks like this. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos B. And C is the only one where you're interested in both the angle and the side. So that's our green ones there. Okay, so let's fill in what we know. This time we don't know angle C. So we'll have 11 squared equals 16 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 16 times 6 cos B. That's the only one I don't know. Let me just highlight what I plugged in here. So I put the 6 here, 16 here, and the 11 with the C squared. That's the one directly across from the angle I don't know. Actually, I should put, instead of C, I'll put M. There we go. Okay, so I want to find M. So this is going to require some algebra because the variable I don't know is on the side of the equation with all the numbers. So let's just simplify this down a bit and evaluate the parts that I do know how to evaluate. So 11 squared is 121. 16 squared, I'm just going to use my calculator, plus 6 squared is 292. 2 times 16 times 6 is 192. And then I have cos M. So let's first do some algebra to get rid of the numbers and isolate cos M on the one side of the equation here. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract 292 from both sides. That'll give me, because it'll cancel it out on that side. And on the right-hand side, I'll have negative 171. And then I can divide by negative 192. And so I'll have, cancel that out. So on that side, I'll have cos M. And on this side, I'll have 0.890625. And to find out what the angle M is, I'm going to need to use the inverse cosine. So M would be cos minus 1, the inverse cosine of that ratio there, 0.890625. And that will give me, I can just type that in my calculator, an angle of approximately 27 degrees. Okay, there we go, check your understanding, yeah, 27 degrees. So if you want to try that one more time and find that missing angle, try it with part B and then you can check your answer down below. But that's a key idea, just using that formula, find the missing side or find a missing angle. That's it for the lesson today.